I see a red light.
It's on.
Hi, welcome to Denver Speakers Corner. Our group meets every Sunday at 4 p.m. However, that may change because of the weather and the time of day because of the time change. But we are working on setting up the proper schedule. However, we are missing one thing. You. We would like you to come down and speak your piece, especially since the election's coming on in 2 days. We would like to know if people were happy with their elected leaders. Yes, I'm running for office too. Come on down and bitch to me about how your government sucks. We do. And for now, I would like to pass it off to our instigator.
Hi, I'm John Wren, and we've got a good group here today, and we're going to talk about topics that are on our minds, candidates that we're trying to decide who we're going to vote for if we haven't voted already. And also we're going to talk today about Denver Speakers Corner, our opinion of these first couple of months, and if we think we ought to keep this going. And we're interested in your opinion on that too. If you'll Google Denver Speakers Corner, just Google Denver Speakers Corner, this will come right up, and you can either RSVP and respond or send me an email message about what you think. Is this worth doing? If you think it's a total waste of time, let me know, because your vote would count right now. We're probably either going to just leave things the way they are and try it for a couple of more months at the same time in the same place, or we may move the place, or we may move the place and the time, but your input would mean a lot to us. So Google Denver Speakers Corner, and if nothing else, send me an email. I'll read all the emails I get at next week's Speaker Corner, so your vote will count even if you can't be here, but it's better if you can come. So RSVP if you want. The RSVP is optional. We're glad to have anybody with us that just shows up. But if you RSVP, we'll be taking your opinion into consideration, especially as we make the decisions about what to do with this in the future. This is something that I'm kind of the instigator of, but it's something that we're trying to not just make an exercise in my personal ego. We'd like to have people here that are carrying the torch. They do this in Hyde Park in London, and with the internet and all of our communications today, this may seem like an unnecessary exercise, but I'm not so sure that's true, because there's a filtering mechanism that goes on even over the internet at certain times especially. So having a place in Denver where citizens congregate on a regular basis to just say what's on their mind could be increasingly important for all kinds of reasons. I came with a couple of topics to talk about today. One is in the Denver Post, and we're right across the street from the Denver Newspaper Agency. The Denver Newspaper Agency houses the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain News, our two daily newspapers. And the Denver Post comes out on Sunday, and in today's editorial, there's Colorado Voices. This is student Ryan Brown wrote an editorial about "This Isn't How I Thought America Worked." And this is what Ryan writes. It starts, Darlene's trailer has seen better days. The white metal frame is rusting, the kitchen sink is broken, and there's a bucket of murky water in the bathroom in case the tub stops draining. But she hasn't complained. I don't want to say anything because I'm afraid they'll tell me I have to get out and then I'll have nowhere to go. Well, this is a trailer that was supplied to her after Katrina. It's set right in front of her house, which has fallen apart, and it's kind of all ground to a halt according to this article. Now, the Ryan Brown, who wrote the article, doesn't really come up with a solution. She just writes the article about what the problem is. And I want to tell you what I think this illustrates is why we're really in great danger if we depend on the government to take care of us. I think this is an example of the government in action at its best. I think if any place has had the bright lights of government thrown on it, it is Katrina. And even before Katrina, it's just the whole idea of we're going to master the Mississippi River. We're going to put up levees, and instead of responding to nature and building on high ground, we're going to build underwater and pretend that we can stop the floods from coming. And this is absolute insanity. But I think it's typical of what happens when we get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we have more and more money, and we can actually build below water level. And for a while, but always there's the hurricane that comes along. So Ryan Brown has gone down and identified this problem, and I feel sorry for this poor woman that's in the trailer, but she's gonna continue struggling, I think, as long as the government's dependent on for help. Now, what can the government do? I think the government should channel its resources to provide services to people. For instance, public education. I am a big believer in public education, although we have huge problems right now because of the teachers union, primarily in my mind. But if you have local school boards, I think we've got to, in this system of government, think of ways that we can provide universal education to all citizens. We have to have citizens that are educated in our system of government. Now, there's a difference between education and indoctrination. And I certainly agree with the people that have a great trepidation about what happens to students in schools today, because I think a lot of what happens is just indoctrination. But it's up to the local school boards to stop that. So what I'm suggesting is that people really pay attention in their school board elections. Those will be coming up in about a year. And let's elect school board members that will make a difference, not only standing up to the union, but making sure that what happens in the classroom is not just indoctrination, that we're truly educating all citizens. And I think there are other areas where the government should be doing a much better job. And for instance, public health. Now, William F. Buckley suggested that we should have feeding stations for all citizens, so that if there should be nobody in America that starves, and there should be feeding stations so that if you're hungry, you can go in and get a meal, similar to what the Catholic charities do, Catholic Workers Program, which Dorothy Day started. And that's a good use of government funds. Same thing with medical facilities. And Denver actually, I think, does a pretty good job in this area. We have clinics. I don't think there's anybody going without necessary medical care in Denver. And I think we've got a model here in Denver that could be looked at by the country. And instead of paying for emergency room treatment, we pay for clinics. We have a system of clinics in Denver that do a pretty darn good job. And I think we should look at that as a model. Education and public health issues. But building levees to hold back the Mississippi River, we've got to stop the insanity. Well, what's on your mind? Maybe we'll see you here next Sunday to talk about it. I think I've taken more than my time on the soapbox, and I'm going to pass the torch to my good friend who's come down to join us, Dimitri.
Hi. I would like to respond to John's question whether we should continue these meetings by referring everyone to read article by Victor David Hanson in NRO, which is called The End of Journalism. And the point the article makes is that this year, mass media as a media of information has died. They become media of advocacy groups. And therefore, no matter who wins Tuesday, do not expect to get any true information about government or state of the country from mass media. Therefore, no matter how small this gathering looks for the last couple of months, we should strive to continue it, because when need arises, it will be ready for other people to vent their anger, concerns, make proposals, and organize to withstand big onslaught from huge increases in government that are very likely to come. That's my point. Thanks.
All right, stay true.